good things. Okay, tell us what's going on.
Okay, yeah. So we're here at Ganal Lumber talking about Diablo tools, which is an exclusive power tool accessories. That's all we do. We look at common problems and we come up with solutions in design. But one of the unique things about us is we don't overprice. Just because we have better performance, we don't overprice it. In fact, what we try to do is be at or below. So for you as a customer, you don't walk up and say, oh, I heard this is good, but I don't want to pay 30% more, so you skip it, and we don't actually get anybody to try these great products. But if we offer it at the same price and take that price objection out for you, you try it, and then you discover, wow, this really is better. And for us, that equals market share. But we're not trying to just have a 30% more expensive product we have at or right around. So that's first of all. What you and I are talking about here is the category of reciprocating saw blades. Some people call them Sawzall blades because Milwaukee had, the big market on corded recip saws. So either way, this is a blade that cuts through wood, cuts through metal, and until we got into the business, most what you would find out there, in fact, exclusively what you find is a product that's called bi-metal. A lot of people think that means it cuts two different types of metal, but it's actually comprised of two different types of metal. Most of this blade, in fact, everything except where the teeth are cut out of, is a soft metal called high carbon steel. And that gives you the flexibility that you need in the product, particularly in the 9 and the 12-inch length, where you might need to get into something. That gives you that flexibility. But if I had the teeth cut into that soft steel, you wouldn't even be able to cut a nail, right? Because it's a war of metals. Is this metal stronger than the metal you're cutting? Or is it not, right? So this has been really all that's out there. But as you know, in circular saw blades, companies go to a great extent to put carbide tips on a circular saw blade. Why do they go through that effort? Because carbide is known to be 50 times longer life, okay? 50 times longer life than bimetal. So, or what is known as high-speed steel. So the bimetal is high carbon steel, and then they weld high-speed steel, which is a harder metal. But if this whole thing was high-speed steel, it would break if you flexed it. It would be too brittle. So you got, soft for its purpose, you got hard for its purpose, right? Okay. Up to here, when we get into the 50X, no one was putting carbide on these until we got into the game in 2010. We had zero market share in 2010. Today, we're bigger than Lennox and bigger than Milwaukee. All right, why? Why were we able to do carbide and no one else did? Because in the circular saw blade category, we started off at 0 in 2000, and today we have over 83% market share on the job sites that you see these red blades, okay? And because we have 83% market share, think about the volume of saw blades you would have to produce to cover 80% of the market in the United States. And because of that, we manufacture our own carbide. We make 30 different types of blends of carbide, and we braze them so we're very, very, very sophisticated in the carbide world.
Question.
Yeah.
Now, sorry to cut off your story, but what kind of blade would you use? 'Cause like I mentioned to you, I came here to get some railroad ties.
Yeah.
And most of these railroad ties, they have creosote in them. And so that's a problem. And so what would you recommend or you suggest that I would use as a blade? Because I have one section of this railroad tie. I have to cut it down to 3 feet. And most of these ties come in 6 feet or whatever. So is there a blade that's going to specialize in that? Do I just hand cut it and take my time? Because I know it'll gum up.
Is this a treatment that's on it?
Creosote, yeah. They treat the railroad ties so that way it doesn't rot out.
Okay.
Sometimes the creosote is pretty thick, and sometimes it's not that thick because the railroad tie, when they replace them, they're pretty beat up
So
and they're wore
like
out.
Tar.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So, well, a couple things. First of all, anything that these can do better.
Okay.
Now, the reason why is because, just again, if you go back to the, to the analogy of the circular saw blade, how many non-carbide tooth circular saw blades do you see in the world or in your local supply shop? None anymore, because carbide has obsoleted regular steel tooth blades. So carbide is only about 12, 15 years old in this category. And once we got into it in 2010, we're like, where's the carbide in this category? So we added it in, and today we're the only company that have all the TPIs from very coarse cutting, which is wood, which is landscaping, which is railroad ties, which I'm going to address in a second, all the way up to the finer teeth that cuts metal, okay? And everything in between, general purpose and so forth. Now, for your particular question, on this set, we actually, the thicker the material you're cutting, the less teeth you want, okay? So if you think about it, what gets the wood chip out of the cut is an anatomy on the blade called the gullet. See this large pocket in here?
Right.
Okay, so the thicker the material, the more you're gonna need, the more this is gonna struggle to get that material out of the cut so it can cut new material. So if I try to take a big timber, like you're speaking of, and try to cut it with a really, really high TPI or teeth per inch, it's not gonna efficiently be able to get it out. Okay, so same thing, if I took a high tooth, 80 tooth blade and tried to cut really thick oak, it's gonna struggle and it's gonna overheat and it's gonna dull the blade prematurely. So we go to a lower TPI, okay? This is what I'm gonna recommend for your railroad tie. Why? Because number one, it's carbide, and carbide is gonna put up with the abuse of this additive that they put on there that gums the blades up and tends to prematurely wear them out. High-speed steel is going to wear out very, very quickly, and this bimetal range is going to wear out very quickly in those type of materials or anything that's highly abrasive. Carbide will give you that 50x. You want a 12-inch length. We have this in a 12, we have it in a 9, and we have it in a 6-inch. So obviously if you're cutting a timber that size, you're going to go with the 12. You also want very coarse TPI. What that means is in 1 inch, I have 3 teeth. So if I go over here, I'm running an 8 TPI. That means in that same inch, I'm packing in 8 teeth. So we want a low TPI. And we want a low TPI for cutting large timbers. Okay, it's gonna make it efficient. So this is the blade for you, my friend. Now these come in, they come in 3 packs and they come in 10 packs, okay? These are generally gonna be twice the price of bimetal, but you're gonna get 50 times the life. So,
What type of warranty or what type of warranties on these blades? I mean, it is what it is, but from what you described to me about what goes into it, it's not like you're gonna run down to a home store and just, hey, it didn't work kind of thing. And so how does the company stand behind its product?
yeah, so we have really a lot of, most of our stuff is really created by lasers and robotics.
Okay.
So there's very little human labor, but in that process, we also have the ability to check and make sure that there's consistency.
Right.
But we fully back all our product and satisfaction guarantee.
Perfect.
So if you, obviously there's opportunistic customers out there that are going to go
Yeah.
and use a product. And
Then bring it back.
Come back, right? So we're somewhat liberal in the sense that we ask our distributor to kind of police that. There's somebody that comes in and does that. But like for instance, a lot of time we find pilot error. So if you were to buy a really, really high TPI and go out and try to cut this right here,
Right.
it's
gonna burn up the blade.
Yeah. So you've got to understand, you know, having the right tool for the right job. You can make a mistake, but really somebody needs to bring that education to that end user to explain that. But we do back our products.
Great. I'm getting close to the end of the video, but this points out the value of educating yourself on the differences in blades, because I've bought these blades before, and I've bought blades like this where it has really fine teeth. I never really got into the difference between how would you say the teeth per TPI.
Right. TPI.
All right, and so now I'm educated about that. So all you do it yourselfers, you'll have a better understanding of blades and what to look for, about the ingredients to go into the blade.
Carbide will last 50 times longer.
And so paying the extra money will be worth it. And so I appreciate you coming in and talking to me. And
We call it more cut for your buck.
I like that.
Okay.
All right. And there you go.